Previously, I promised to take you to Malaysia, and I'm keeping that promise right now, but that's not all. On our route is Vietnam, filled with exotic surprises, exciting adventures, aromatic cuisine, lively markets, and a unique culture that fascinates visitors. We'll visit the most beautiful beaches and compare tourist attraction prices. We are going to Vietnam strictly as tourists, but the bonus of this whole adventure is that we're not going to Malaysia as tourists anymore, spending time in hotels or designated places. That would be super boring after all. We're going there because we plan to move. Actually, we've already bought an apartment, but it's still under construction. But I'll show you the showroom and what the whole estate will look like. One of the bedrooms will have windows facing the National Stadium. The front offers a view of Kuala Lumpur's city center and skyscrapers. Downstairs there's a podium with a swimming pool, a basketball court, which mattered most to me, and right in front of the pool, a gym for residents. Such a luxurious apartment in Asia costs exactly... Hold on, I talked about the costs later, but we're also going to Malaysia to visit my partner's family, and she's the one holding the camera right now. But for now, we'll be staying at her parents' old house. From what I've been told, I'm probably the first Western face to ever come here. We'll visit her parents' newly built, unfurnished house. The neighborhood is new, nice, and secure. It may not be fully finished yet, but there will be green areas for various sports and a playground for children. The house has an area of 331 square meters, and because of the larger garden, they decided on a corner house. It cost exactly. We'll also check what people drive here, how much it costs to drive, and most importantly, whether you can make ends meet on an average salary. Because who knows, maybe instead of just coming here for vacation, some of you might want to move here permanently. After all, food is cheap, fuel is cheap, apartments are cheap, and the nature is beautiful. Luggage packed, a long goodbye to my dog, a taxi ride, and now at the airport with our Turkish Airlines tickets. A flight from Dublin in Ireland to Ho Chi Minh. In Vietnam, with a layover in Istanbul for 2 people with luggage, it cost us 1,305 euros, which is over 4,600 zlotys. We bought the tickets more than 2 months in advance, so I think it's not that bad. Last time in Malaysia, we paid 1,600 euros per person for tickets, or 13,000 zlotys each. It's just that it was kind of spontaneous and we bought the tickets a month before. For the first part of the flight, we took seats without any extra charge. But as you can see, there's plenty of space because the ground staff guy was nice enough to give us a free upgrade. So you can stretch out. The comfort of traveling with Turkish Airlines is on a completely different level compared to the cheap flights offered by airlines like Ryanair. The staff was very nice. I wanted to edit headphone material during the flight, but there was no power outlet. On battery, I could only edit audio. It's after 11 post-meridian and we've just landed in Istanbul. We'll be waiting here at this airport for at least about 3 hours for our connecting flight. I'll be honest, it's only been 8 hours since we left home, and we're already feeling a bit sluggish. We have to wait here. 3 more hours, then take a 9-hour flight. Since we're just sitting here and have plenty of time, we've activated, as you can see, a 5 GB internet package for Vietnam and another one the same for Malaysia. Of course, you could have done this even 30 days before arriving in the destination country, but somehow there was never time for it. Remember this, because to purchase and activate a package in Saili, you need to have internet access, so it's worth doing it before you leave. If needed, you can use Wi-Fi at the airport or hotel. We are where we are, but from our last trip we still have a leftover package for Turkey.
Not many days remain, but it's still there.
And I definitely feel more confident using Saili here as my operator because I trust it, but Turkish Open Wi-Fi? Sorry, but definitely not. We've already boarded the plane. As you can see, I really have a lot of legroom here.
Maybe I'll even sit in the middle.
However, we paid quite a lot for this privilege, but forgive me, it's almost 3 AM, so I plan to get some sleep. The flight is actually 9 hours and 40 minutes, so it would be tough to squeeze into smaller spaces. Last time we flew to Malaysia, we chose regular seats. At night, I fell asleep, slid down in my seat, and my knee was pressing against the seat in front of me for who knows how long. As a result, I was limping terribly for the next 2 or even 3 weeks, and I rubbed myself with Tiger Balm like some old grandpa. And here you can see that nothing like that is likely to happen to me. We've landed, that's our plane over there, and I'll tell you, it's 5 post meridian according to our biological clock. My body still feels like it's 10 ante-meridian, but honestly, with the seats we chose, I slept really well. I think I slept for 4 or 5 hours and maybe dozed off for another 2, so in my own way I'm full of energy, if you can call it that. We're starting our journey in Ho Chi Minh, a city that isn't officially the capital, even though it's the most populous metropolis in the country. Previously called Saigon, the city was renamed in 1976 after the Vietnam War's end and national unification to honor Ho Chi Minh, leader of the Communist Vietnamese Workers' Party and independence icon. The bilingual naming system is interesting. Although official documents use Ho Chi Minh, people still say Saigon in daily life. It's a tribute to history and tradition. Even the bus departure board on the map shows the name Ho Chi Minh. On the other hand, the destination is Saigon, so it's like they're undecided. But for now, we've arrived at our apartment, we'll freshen up a bit, and then we'll head out into the city together with my beloved's parents, who also arrived today to join us for sightseeing. It's 8 post meridian, the temperature is 29 degrees Celsius, and we finally need to eat something, so we're heading to the market and to get some dinner. Here you can see an ongoing large mourning ceremony, which I wasn't aware of at first. Just a few steps further was our restaurant. Honestly, traveling alone for over 30 hours didn't make us hungry. That's probably why our order was so big. Each of us was literally starving. We ended up in a pretty nice place where we really like the food. Here you can take a look at the bill. The dish names are in Vietnamese, with English translations below. Dinner cost us 1,250,000 dong, about 188 Polish zloty. After a hearty dinner, we took a short walk. I must admit, crossing the streets here is challenging. Regardless of the traffic lights, whether red or green, drivers seem to ignore them and just keep going. We have a green light.
Alright, now go.
Look what's happening.
I'll say it again, it's green. That night we planned to visit Benton Market, but when we arrived it turned out they were just closing it. So we took a taxi back to our accommodation using the popular Grab app here. For a 13-minute taxi ride covering 2 kilometers, we paid 29,000 dong, which is just over 4.40 Polish zloty. Well, my dear friends, let me tell you, it's 3 in the morning, I can't sleep because of jet lag, so I took out my laptop. You can see it. I took out my laptop and I'm going to work, because what else can I do? Meanwhile, outside right now it's 27 degrees Celsius. So really, such a trip is quite taxing, you could say, for the body. But look, this city still never sleeps. Everything is blinking. There's traffic on the streets. Down there, maybe we'll see motorcycles, scooters, people everywhere. Maybe it's not as busy as it was before, but a big city never sleeps, right?
I've been working for about 3 hours already, but I'm stepping out onto the balcony because in a moment...
The sun. You can see on the watch that at 5:51 sunrise should be happening. It's 5:50 and we'll see in a moment, but actually the sunrise is on the other side. Our view is completely to the west, but you can't say it's bad. You can see in the distance that the traffic is already picking up, and well, that's because, well, it's early. However, it's Sunday, so it shouldn't be very crowded today.
At least that's what I expect. It's 7 o'clock. Everyone has been up for a while. However, my energy level is kind of strangely mixed.
But anyway, we're going downstairs in a moment to get some breakfast. From what I can see, it shouldn't rain for the next 4 hours. However, the forecast says that by the end of the day, around 5 o'clock, it's definitely possible. First stop, the Palace of Unification. Is it worth visiting? Historically, absolutely. Well, the palace was designed by a Vietnamese architect whose name I won't even try to pronounce. From the outside it looks cool with greenery and interesting trees. In fact, the whole property is surrounded by green areas.
There are even tennis courts here.
It's after 8 in the morning, it's 30 degrees and there are people playing tennis over there. What's your excuse? It looks like a fairy tale on the outside, but inside, prepare for pressure.
The interiors are a true 60s time capsule.
You can see that the President of the Republic lived here in luxury, even when the rest of society was starving. For me, it's a bit of a grandma's style, but the round rug with dragons was cool. Anyway, just look at these windows. Really interesting style. Although the other rooms in this building don't impress me as much, these windows with columns, even though they were designed 60 years ago, have something special about them for me. But was I impressed? Let's say moderately. The price of 10 zlotys isn't high. If you have time and you're nearby, it's definitely worth stopping by. You need 2 to 3 hours to read anything in the museum. We spent almost 4 hours here because we decided to have breakfast on site. In one of the country's key places, you can't get a quick kebab from a stand. I have to admit, the dishes looked excellent, although the taste was just okay. 190 zlotys for 4 people, including tasty frozen coconut coffees, is still a reasonable deal. Just a 7-minute walk from the palace is the Notre Dame Cathedral in Saigon.
As you can see, unfortunately, it's currently under renovation.
Both towers are 58 meters tall, which makes them an impressive landmark in the city. The covered scaffolding isn't impressive, but after renovations, the city is definitely worth visiting.
Admission to the cathedral is free. And while you're here, right next to it is the Central Post Office in Saigon, which is one of the most recognizable places in Ho Chi Minh City. The building was designed in the neoclassical style by the French architect Alfred Foulou and was constructed between 1886 and 1891 when Vietnam was still part of French Indochina. The architecture blends Gothic Renaissance and French styles, making it unique. Inside, you can admire mosaic floors and historical maps depicting Vietnam and Cambodia from the late 19th century. On the main wall, there is a portrait of Ho Chi Minh, which adds a local character to the building. It's surprising that the building still serves as a post office, and visitors can send postcards or letters from this, after all, historic place.
Next, we visited Ho Chi Minh City Book Street. It's a literary haven in the heart of the city.
This street was designed as a meeting place for book lovers and for those seeking a peaceful break from the hustle and bustle of the city. It's a perfect place not only for shopping in the many bookstores, but also for relaxing in small cafes where you can enjoy coffee or read a book. We're walking down this street but need to sit on a bench for a bit.
While sitting, I was playing with my watch and thought I'd tell you more about it.
As you can see, my smartphone shows a temperature of 33 degrees and wind, meaning that little arrow from the east at a speed of 16 kilometers per hour. Thanks to that, you can feel a slight breeze. Since my viewers love technology too, I'll share more about this watch, which I've never discussed before.
It's a hybrid, so the mechanical hands always display the current time.
Basically, the screen, although it's black and white, is also always on, and even so, you don't need to take a charger with you on a vacation like this, because as you can see, it currently has 90% battery, and I have 31 days of battery left.
The Bluetooth connection with the phone is active, and heart rate and heart rate variability measurement are also enabled.
On the other hand, if I activate power saving mode, I'll show you in a moment. If I activate power saving mode, the battery will last for 64 days. So you definitely don't need to take any charger with you, although of course you can if you want. Oh, and right, that's all assuming I won't be in the sun, because this is the solar version, which means it also charges with sunlight. If I go to the sunlight intensity tab, we can see how much sun exposure I had today, along with a graph from the last 6 hours. I can also check the data from the whole week. I actually missed this earlier, but I see that if we go into the options, the watch also has a language setting. I saw Polish somewhere. Yes, there it is, there's Polish language. My technical English is more fluent than my Polish, so I prefer my gadgets in English. I've had it a year, and I'm still very satisfied. If you're interested, I'll link it in the description below. It has the longest and dumbest name in the history of gadgets, but as you can see, the product itself is absolutely awesome.
Next, we walked in the square, whose name you can now see below.
It's a popular spot in central Ho Chi Minh, surrounded by skyscrapers, stretching from City Hall to the Saigon River waterfront.
This place is known for street performances like singing, dancing, and other entertainment.
The first time we went was during the day, so it was quiet. What stood out was a building filled with small restaurants.
At the end of the square, on the Saigon River, there is a ship that has been converted into a restaurant.
We didn't go inside, but according to the website, prices vary by floor. You can check for yourself. It's 2 post meridian. We've already walked about 10,000 steps today, but we came back to our apartment, our place, about an hour ago to freshen up a bit, because at times it got up to 36 degrees Celsius, felt like 41, so honestly, in that kind of temperature, everything just melts. But we're going to rest a little more and then head out again. Yeah, we've only done 10,000 steps because, as it turns out, taxis here are actually pretty cheap. Maybe not free, but you really don't pay much. So if we can treat ourselves to a ride in an air-conditioned car for sometimes just 2, 3 or 4 zloty, then why not? Actually, I'll walk you through my receipts from an app called Grab.
A ride of over 2 kilometers through a crowded and generally expensive city costs 1.55 euros, which is about 6.50 zloty.
And that's already with the weekend surcharge and the fee for exchanging to a currency not supported by Revolut. And Grab also charged an extra 4% for foreign account payments. If we take into account that 4 people don't have to walk in nearly 40-degree heat, then such a cost is hardly a cost at all. Here I'm showing you really many more rides that we took using the Grab app. There are more operators, but from what we read online, Grab is one of the recommended ones. And I have to admit, I really like this app. There were 4 of us, so a car made sense. But for people traveling alone, Grab also gives you the option to choose a 2-wheeler. And from what you can see on the streets, this option is chosen very often. This type of transportation isn't as popular with Europeans as with locals, though I've occasionally seen some adventurous tourists on scooters. The driver wears a distinctive green outfit and has a second helmet available. People commute like this to work or school, often using their phones. It's just everyday life and very relaxed. Buses run here too, but not as many as the number of people traveling by scooter. You can hear them from far away because they constantly buzz. While I wander around the apartment, I'll tell you more about it.
We paid 219.51 euros for 4 nights, and the view is amazing.
Whether it's day or night, at first glance everything seems awesome. Plus the fact that it's on the top 33rd floor. However, the apartment's standard furnishings aren't impressive at all. The bathroom smells musty. The yellow dim light is almost like it was 30 years ago in a Polish basement. The water pressure is so low that showers take 5 times longer. There are no bedside lamps in the bedroom. It's not surprising since there wouldn't be anything to put them on anyway, so I used my bag as a little table. The kitchen is also miserable. There's a kettle, 1 gas burner with a cylinder, and there aren't many glasses or mugs either. There isn't even a single drawer in the cabinets, and if you're wondering where the cutlery is, let me show you. They're just thrown loosely in a little basket, and there are ants here, whole hordes of them. The owner probably thought that a nice chandelier would make up for all the shortcomings. We also have a pool, but using it requires the owner's personal signature. I'm not joking, and that's every single time.
It makes absolutely no sense.
We waited in our flip-flops by the pool for about 40 minutes until he arrived and let us in. We stayed 4 days, but only used the pool once because it was too much hassle. One more thing, because I wanted to show you an interesting trick that's completely normal in Asia, and it's also found in Malaysia. Here's a washing machine on a sort of pseudo-balcony. It's open here. You can see 33 floors down. Here's a regular washing machine. You can do your laundry, and instead of going through a pipe, the water just flows out from under the washing machine and goes in here. We went for a short walk around our building. Right under the elevators there are a few different little shops, and that's always tempting for a foodie like me. We're at 7-Eleven, but I'm watching my figure and I feel like having a snack, so I'll get myself some fish. You see, a healthy snack with cocoa, or with salt, or with green tea.
Frozen fish, a healthy snack.
Okay, fish-shaped ice cream with tea flavor isn't as extraordinary as dried crispy squid or layered cookies with cheese filling. I bought those too and they were delicious. In Asia, it's not surprising at all to find snacks in the form of dried mushrooms, all kinds of fruits, or even broccoli. We were enjoying those fish-shaped ice creams as we slowly walked and admired what was most likely a Christian temple. A few steps away from it, there was a Chinese temple, which we visited. I had seen similar places in Malaysia, so this one didn't stand out at first. In front of the Buddha statue, we noticed a small monk figurine. This is Tang Sazang, a figure of key importance in the education and guidance of Sun Wukong, more widely known as the Monkey King, the hero of the popular game Black Myth Wukong. Though Tang Sazang wasn't Sun Wukong's literal master, since Wukong had already developed his combat and magical skills, as his spiritual and moral guide, Tang Sazang greatly influenced his transformation. Generally speaking, Wukong was quite a character. However, Tang Sazang freed him, and he swore loyalty to him. The journeys they shared and the teachings he received from the monk contributed to his inner transformation. This story made us start playing Black Myth Wukong on a new handheld that I began testing during our travels. The review of this device should come out shortly after this video, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. In the meantime, we stopped by a massage parlor. In case you're curious, here are the different options and prices. As for currency conversion, 1 million is about 160 zlotys, something like that. You can take a look at what's available and at what prices. You can compare it. It's definitely expensive compared to other places, but unfortunately it seems pretty standard, so to speak. When we got back to the apartment, it was already after dark and we decided to recharge our energy. We're starting our third day in Vietnam and it looks like it's going to be intense. We've already booked a full-day tour of the Mekong Delta. We're going to visit the Bentra Islands, a coconut workshop, and also try local fruits and honey. The program also features a boat ride and riverside lunch. The tour is limited to small groups, which in theory should provide a more intimate experience, but at the same time increases the price of such a trip. Will it really provide that? We'll find out.
The city has long since come to life, but there's some rumbling coming from under the balcony.
It's 7 in the morning, and downstairs, probably at the school, they're playing some anthems. A group of kids has gathered. They're working and playing drums. An interesting way to start the day. We were picked up from the apartment and set off south of Ho Chi Minh. We admired Vietnam's diverse landscape and were surprised by the contrasting buildings on the city outskirts. Next to residential houses, which in their simplicity resembled huts and often served as small family businesses like restaurants or service points, there were neighborhoods full of 20-story apartment blocks. Vietnam, inhabited by about 101 million people, is one of the most densely populated countries in Southeast Asia. It's no wonder that residential construction is booming, and new neighborhoods are springing up like mushrooms after the rain. We're slowly approaching the toll highway. Because of the automatic toll collection system, I wasn't able to notice the actual cost of the ride. The speed limit is 100 kilometers per hour, but the driver said few people actually drive that fast. Most drivers stick to speeds between 80 and 90 kilometers per hour. This is due to strict speeding penalties. Every 10 kilometers per hour over the limit results in a $100 fine. Exceeding by an additional 6 kilometers per hour means another $50, and the next 10 adds another 100. For most Vietnamese residents, these amounts are astronomical. Although wages in the cities are higher, people living and working in rural areas earn an average of about $5 a day, so there's no point in giving up a month's salary for a minor speeding violation. After an hour of driving, we took a short break. A small roadside inn with clean restrooms. Too bad we weren't hungry as it looked nice. The father of my favorite girl recommended that we try a delicacy available at a small stand inside the inn. This is most likely bam tro, which are Vietnamese sweet dumplings wrapped in bamboo or banana leaves. Inside, there is sticky rice with the addition of wood ash, which gives it a subtle alkaline flavor. These ones have coconut milk added, which gives them sweetness. They taste a bit like Bounty bars, but less sweet and more filling. Sweetness is still sweetness, but in this form it's probably the lesser evil. Or maybe as a sweet tooth, I'm just telling myself that. Driving through Vietnam's vast green fields, we saw something that immediately caught our attention. Single tombstones or small clusters were randomly scattered across the farmland, blending into the landscape. Intrigued by this sight, we decided to ask our driver about their presence. He explained that it is part of a Vietnamese tradition deeply rooted in ancestor worship and respect for the family land. He told us that in many villages, tombstones are often placed on farmland because the land is a family heritage, and burying loved ones within its boundaries symbolizes a lasting bond with the ancestors and the place that was their home. He also added that Vietnamese culture considers these graves a way to provide spiritual care for the land and its crops. His story made us look at this landscape from a completely new perspective. Each of these tombstones tells the story of a family, their traditions connected to the place where they live.
Vietnamese fields became more than just a place of cultivation for us. We saw in them the spiritual heritage of this country.
About 45% of the society is involved in this type of beliefs. Christianity makes up 8.2%, but the second largest religion in Vietnam is Buddhism, which is practiced by about 16% of the population.
And it just so happens that the first place we will visit as part of this organized trip is Vinh Trang Park, one of the most important places related to Buddhism in this region. It's not a park in the literal sense of the word, with typical recreational facilities, but rather an extensive temple area that, thanks to its unique architecture, rich history and peaceful atmosphere, attracts both worshippers and tourists.
Vinh Trang Park's exit gate features ornate dragon, phoenix and lotus flower sculptures, all common in Vietnamese culture. Vinh Trang Pagoda's most distinctive feature is its architecture, blending traditional Asian and European styles. Here we see Vietnamese decorations, intricately carved columns with dragon and phoenix motifs, Romanesque arches, French stained glass, and Renaissance-like details. Upon entering the main hall, visitors are immediately struck by the room's spaciousness and height. The columns, often adorned with carved dragons or coated in lacquer and gold, support the high ceiling.
The interior is usually well lit by natural light coming through numerous windows, often decorated with stained glass, which adds colorful reflections on the floors and altars.
The interior of the Vinh Trang Pagoda is a real feast for the eyes, full of rich decorations, colorful details, and monumental statues.
Meanwhile, the central point of the main hall is the altars, which display various statues of Buddha and other important figures from the Buddhist pantheon.
In the center, there is a statue of Buddha depicted in various mudras, which are hand gestures symbolizing all aspects of his teachings. Next to him are statues of the Buddha of the Western Pure Land and the Buddha of Compassion.
These statues are often gilded or lacquered, with robes, hairstyles, and facial features crafted with remarkable precision. They are often surrounded by candles, incense, flowers, and offerings made by the faithful. These are usually fruits or drinks. There was probably even rice in these bowls. The temple stretches over a vast area of about 2 hectares, picturesquely surrounded by lush gardens. Among them, you can admire a rich collection of tropical trees, exotic flowers including dazzling orchids and majestic lotuses, as well as intricately shaped bonsai trees. There is a 7-story tower on the grounds of the pagoda. It serves as a symbol of spiritual development, and its successive levels can represent the stages of enlightenment in Buddhism. A statue of Guan Yin stands beneath the tower.
Here are arhats, Buddha's disciples who reached nirvana. There are 18 in total.
And here is the happy Buddha. He is a symbol of hope and joy. This 32-meter-long image depicts Buddha at the moment of attaining nirvana, the ultimate liberation from suffering. We're touring these temples, but it's 31 degrees and feels like 36. Fortunately, the sky is cloudy, so it's not burning hot, but of course you still sweat a lot in these conditions. However, visiting time at the temple has just ended. Next, enjoy a traditional boat cruise on the Bentra River.
In the Mekong region, boats often have eyes painted on the bow to bring good luck and protection on the water.
So we board the boat. Such boats are used both for transporting goods and people. Ours, as you can see, is adapted for tourist purposes. We have a roof, wicker chairs, and a table here. It's a flat-bottomed boat, making it stable on the delta's shallow, muddy waters. These boats are vital to the Mekong Delta, navigating its many rivers, canals, and streams. These calm canals are not only important transportation routes, but also a source of livelihood for many residents who have been connected to this watery land for generations. The Mekong nourishes and irrigates the vast areas of the delta, making them extremely fertile. It's thanks to its waters that this region is teeming with life. But it seems that nobody here cares much about ecology. There are regulations regarding exhaust emissions in Vietnam, but enforcing them, especially when it comes to older boats and engines, can be a challenge.
We are on the ecological island of Tai Son, where a wide variety of fruits are grown.
And soon we'll have a similar ride. These are real chickens. A good life for a chicken means walking and scratching around. And they're quite a bit more expensive, which doesn't surprise anyone.
Although the conditions don't seem all that great, it's still better than what regular chickens have in cages.
And I think our ride is here already. Traveling these narrow paths lets us experience the true atmosphere of this tropical area. From the perspective of the road, we can also see how important a role waterways play in this region.
We traveled this part by vehicle, but we'll walk the rest on foot.
Generally, I'm not a big fan of riding horses and making animals work, but you have to understand that on this tiny island, there's nothing else to do. And these people have to make a living somehow, and they also need to feed these horses in some way. So you pay 10,000 dongs per person, which means we paid 40,000, and we also left a small tip to help feed the horse. Here we see fresh bananas, very young ones that are just slowly growing. That's what it looks like. This is just a whole banana tree, and right below it we have a coconut tree. You can also see coconuts growing, just like on Bounty bars. A moment ago there was a papaya there, but here we can see a mango, from a slightly closer perspective. We know something is coming, and of course those are durians. There's a man with a snake over there. You can pay a little money to go over and hold it if anyone wants to. Now we're going to taste a drink made from honey. Vietnam has a rich beekeeping tradition.
Here, as you can see, they've also added bee pollen, which is a natural mix of flower pollens.
It's considered a superfood due to its high levels of proteins, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, enzymes, and antioxidants.
Sweet.
Very good, because my throat hurts from the air conditioning, so cheers to health. Combining honey with bee pollen creates a uniquely flavored drink with possible health benefits. Bee pollen is sometimes used to boost immunity, increase energy, and improve overall well-being, although scientific research is still ongoing. We are in a small restaurant on this little island near the Mekong Delta, and we decided that this is the best place to do a speed test for Saley.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a particularly civilized place, but it's farther away from big cities.
Over there we have the Mekong River, and here we'll do a quick little test. Yes, we're on Saley. Oh, and you can see that 5G works perfectly here. Let's check the speeds. Well, it's nothing special. We have just under 10-12 megabits. As we can see, the maximum reached 13 megabits. The average is just under 7. Now uploading. Well, uploading is doing much better. But just look where we are. In what kind of area there are taps, hoses, and everything. And for tourist purposes, as they say, this kind of internet is more than enough for us. After the Saley test, our guide took a python. For my beloved, it was quite a challenge, but for me it didn't really move me that much. After all, it's not a venomous snake. Besides, it's completely tame. I was surprised by its calm nature, incredible strength, and the extraordinary texture of its skin. It was an amazing experience to hold such an exotic animal, although its weight was surprisingly high. It is an absolutely impressive creature. Afterward, we took another walk around the farm to see interesting fruits. Here you can see the tropical Logan tree, which bears small round fruits with a sweet, slightly musky flavor. This is the fruit of the sea palm, and we can taste it. Very sweet, too sweet, but it tastes interesting. Cool and refreshing.
But just this... Oh, is this ice?
Okay. Alright, for refreshment, you see this one fruit right here, it comes from this. Each one is like a fruit. The appearance is incredibly interesting. This is the fruit of the nipa palm, and in fact it's not a type of coconut, although because of the watery flesh inside the young seeds, in some regions it's actually called a water coconut. We stopped for a little snack.
You see, it's pretty healthy food, but basically everything is sweet.
While we were enjoying the taste of local fruits, a group of singers approached us, performing songs deeply rooted in local folklore. Apparently, their performance was part of the attractions prepared for guests, aimed at introducing us to Vietnamese culture through traditional music. Such a distinctive conical hat is very common. It is not only a practical head covering that protects against the sun and rain, but also an important element of Vietnamese culture and tradition. As you can see, pineapple here is eaten with salt if I manage to get some. We finished the fruit and set off on our journey. This is something like jackfruit. I'll write the Polish name at the bottom. Jackfruit is called chlebowiec różnolistny in Polish. Although the name jackfruit is often used, you can also come across the term breadfruit. Interestingly, it is the largest tree fruit in the world, which can grow up to 90 cm in length and 50 cm in diameter, weighing over 50 kilograms. As you can see, this one is in a net, and that's because when it ripens it falls. Of course, we don't want it to break and go to waste, so the net is here for safety, so it can be collected later. For example, this one is really big already, and you can see that if it falls from such a height, there won't be much left of it. On this trip I ate dried jackfruit several times and must say it's delicious. On this side of the farm, it's definitely calmer and quieter. You can hear some birds behind me. What you see here, as you read in Chinese, literally means field frog. It's hard to see them because they're tiny. Right, now you should be able to see better. Field frogs, being bred. And what's in front of us in this little river, that's actually a giant salamander. And it's not that giant, let's not exaggerate, but it's giant enough to eat. Now we're going to see how pomelo grows. Let's squeeze through here. Oh, I see it now, I'm showing you. The whole tree. Pomelo. What you're about to see everyone will like, even if you don't enjoy pomelo or durian. But what grows here, everyone likes. And what am I talking about? Of course, I'm talking about the cacao tree. Please take a look. This is one fruit. There's a tiny one over there. Honestly, I don't know if the darker one should be picked first or not, or maybe the lighter ones. Maybe you can let me know in the comments. This jackfruit is growing at the bottom, so it doesn't need a protective net. Here you can see a natural stream. This greenery is beautiful. I don't know if the camera will capture it, but the green is really deep. This fruit is used in Vietnam for cooking rice. That's sticky rice. And thanks to it, the rice gets its red color. We arrived at the Mekong River, where traditional boats awaited us among the lush greenery. We're getting onto a tiny little boat. You can see that the waters of the Mekong are quite murky, and that's because of the sand, which is mostly what you find here. This water is just so murky. We set out on a boat through narrow green channels, experiencing the peaceful rhythm of the Mekong Delta. The paddles quietly dipped into the muddy water as we glided deeper into the lush vegetation. Tall palms and dense thickets formed a natural tunnel above our heads, through which lazy rays of sunlight broke through, painting shimmering reflections on the water. The air was humid and filled with the scent of tropical vegetation and earth. This is the sea coconut we drank earlier. Traffic jams are already forming here. Everything is basically so smooth that we don't have to slow down. On the left, on the right, someone is always passing by. Wild crocodiles once swam here, but now they're gone. If they were here, it would definitely be interesting as an attraction. Someone is overtaking us right now without any issues. Overall, it's very pleasant. It's about 31 degrees, feels like 36, but since we have a bit of shade here and the sky is pretty cloudy anyway, it's actually really pleasant. With this kind of temperature and on a day like this, you can actually stop sweating. We're already approaching the place where we'll stop, and over there you can see the open river more clearly. As we got off the boat, we smelled the sweet scent of coconuts in the air. No wonder, since we arrived at a facility that processes these versatile fruits. Sweet. Take a look at how the process works. You take a coconut like this, stick it on a stake to open it. In the next step, as you can see, whole coconuts are thrown in here. But it smells wonderful. They are pressed, ground, and that's how these unique coconut flakes are made. Then these coconut flakes are flattened and the juice or oil is squeezed out of them.
Here we can see it.
Water evaporates from it, leaving a sugar-like substance.
Well, it's like a sweet, sweet jelly, sweet sugar made from these coconuts.
And you see nothing goes to waste because these shells here are burned in the furnace.
And once it cools down, it's made into rolls, flattened, pressed, cut, and then we have these unique fudge candies.
And then of course there's the packing process for all of this. You even need to have nimble hands for it. It's quite fast packing. At work, everyone complains about others not doing their jobs, but here, the lady can watch a television series if she wants, and the slicing has already started. The knife is quite big, nothing is measured, nothing is weighed. Here we have full experience, the lady knows exactly how much is needed. And more candies are going onto the table, ready to be packed. The process goes quickly and smoothly. You can try it.
No, small one is fine.
We bought one small package. Actually, it was a small package. Here you can see real crocodile skin products. You can see the prices. A wallet is 700,000. Belts are also, from what I see, 700,000 dong, and some even cost 1.2 million. I didn't count the money. It looks strange when everything is in millions. It's pretty hard to keep track. Normally, when you pay for a coffee, it's like 1-2 euros, let's say, in Ireland, or a dozen or so zlotys, but here it's hundreds of thousands, so it's a bit problematic. Next, we got into another but still traditional boat and headed towards another small island to have lunch there. Every dish was full of fresh ingredients and flavors characteristic of Vietnamese cuisine. Here there are rice noodles, but this also uses rice noodles with an added ingredient. The internet is slowly slipping away from us, but we still have some left. But since we're still here in this restaurant, let's check how and where the speed is recorded. Here on the other hand, I see it's a 4G connection. It starts off pretty weak. 5, 7, 10, but that's already enough for browsing. We can zoom in, at most. 19 megabits on average, almost 11. Now we see the upload speed went up high. We have a maximum of 80 megabits upload, on average 30 here by the restaurant. There's also a very nice decoration in the form of a partially sunken little boat. Look, tiny fish are swimming there. There's so much life here. It's nice in this little pond. You could call it our water garden. Only now did we have a real lunch, a real dinner. It tasted really great. Delicious food. There's no point in pretending. It's a bit loud, sorry about that. And now we're going to head home. Everyone is slowly getting ready to leave. That's the end of today's trip, but now we've been given a drink from a real coconut to rehydrate. Anyway, I'll take the camera and show you what it looks like inside. Here we have the part of the coconut that everyone knows. There we have coconut water. If we manage, we can catch it. Well, actually, you can see the coconut water. Delicious. This natural drink is a real treasure of the tropics, slightly sweet, full of electrolytes, and extremely hydrating. This drink's freshness and naturalness make it taste far better than processed, overly sweetened juices. It's a simple yet extremely pleasant way to quench your thirst. The flesh of young coconuts is very delicate, almost jelly-like and thin. It was a day full of attractions. About 65 euros per person for the experiences we received. I think it was worth that amount. To catch our breath a bit, we should have a slightly more relaxed fourth day in Vietnam. We're starting today's adventure at Tan Dinh, also known as the Pink Church. It's one of the most distinctive buildings in Ho Chi Minh. It was built in 1876 during the French colonial period and is the second largest church in the city, right after Notre Dame Cathedral. This church's pastel pink facade makes it stand out and draw attention.
Entering Tandin doesn't require any fee, but it wasn't possible to get inside, and no one knew why.
According to information from Google, it should be open on Tuesdays from 8:30, but at 9 o'clock it was still not open.
At the entrance, there was a notice that the lunch break is between 12 and 2, but the security guards just don't care about anyone.
They ignore the fact that anyone is asking them anything or just wave people away with their hand. More and more tourists keep arriving.
Buses full of people arrive just to complain and kiss the entrance gate too. Putting up a note with the current opening hours or dates, I don't know, any kind of explanation, even writing it by hand, wouldn't be that hard.
It's hard to tell if it's security laziness or stupidity, maybe both.
We were very disappointed by that attitude, so entering the church was a total failure. So we set off on another half-hour grab ride back toward the city center. Benton Market's entrance was open and free, but you could still spend a lot here. This market is one of the most famous and distinctive places worth visiting. This lively spot is busy day and night, offering a wide variety of clothes, handicrafts, souvenirs, produce, and spices. This place is also famous for its local food. At the market, you'll find stalls with traditional Vietnamese dishes such as po ban hagzio and fresh spring rolls. Bentan Market is the perfect place to experience the local atmosphere, practice your bargaining skills, and taste the flavors of Vietnamese cuisine. Interestingly, this market has a section where you bargain for everything. For the same product, one tourist may pay the full price asked by the seller, while another might pay only 30% of the initial price. But don't worry, the sellers still don't lose out on this. The other part already has fixed prices and is recommended for those frustrated by such practices in Morocco. For Jordans, it's 1,200,000, but you could probably get it for less. I politely thanked her and put the shoe back in its place, but after I turned off the camera, the saleswoman started insisting that I make the purchase. At first, she offered me a price of 1,200,000, then she lowered it to 1 million. I explained that I already have identical shoes and I was only interested in the price. She then offered them to me for 800,000. As you can see, price is a relative concept, depending only on how much you are willing to pay. Our guide from yesterday said that the locals here don't buy anything at all because the prices are totally inflated and aimed exclusively at tourists. We looked around a bit, didn't buy anything, but we're moving on. After all that walking, we've worked up an appetite for a delicious breakfast. Right across from the market, we found a charming retro cafe. The coffee was delicious, but the food also impressed us. Aromatic rice topped with fresh, colorful, flavorful ingredients and diverse textures.
Such a breakfast is a real feast.
Here I also found the bill. In case you're interested in how much all this food cost, well, it's 1,304,100 dong. They say it's healthy to go for a walk after a meal, so we decided to go to the city park, Sala Urban Park. This place impresses with its unique structures inspired by the shapes of flowers.
Right in the center, on the bridge, you can spot the huge red Sala flower from afar.
The atmosphere here is extremely calm and quiet. Beautiful coconut palms add charm and create a pleasant vibe. Street traffic is almost unnoticeable, but life in the water is bursting with energy. Fish appear more common than scooters downtown, occasionally jumping to the surface. It's clear that this neighborhood isn't poor, and you probably won't see an opal here. Just a little joke, of course, but the truth is, you simply won't find any opals or boxels here. But in Vietnam, there are many car models you won't see in Europe. Here's another example of a car you probably won't find in Europe. This is the Hyundai Creta. So you could say you're driving on Creta. Or maybe that you're driving a mole? However, a much more interesting vehicle, or rather brand, is VinFast, which was established in 2017 and belongs to the Vong Group conglomerate. The company specializes in the production of electric cars, buses and scooters.
This brand is growing quickly, adding more models, including electric vehicles.
It may appear that only VinFast and Toyota cars are on the roads in Vietnam. This young brand has ambitious plans to expand into international markets, including Europe and North America. The VF03 model caught my attention. Not that I'm interested in it. It looks both cute and, in its own strange way, a bit awkward. In that light pink color, it absolutely doesn't suit me at all. In green it's a bit better, and if it had 4x4 drive and higher suspension, you could really have some fun with it off-road. The VF5 is nicer, but remains a fairly bland electric vehicle, typically used as a taxi. There's nothing wrong with the design of this car, but it doesn't stand out with anything exciting either. We had a chance to take it for a 5-kilometer drive and they really cut corners on soundproofing here. I'll tell you, it's probably quieter inside a 15-year-old gasoline Toyota than in this new electric car, but after all, it's a cheap model, which is very obvious from the finishing materials. I don't want to say it's a bad car, but in my opinion, it will never be anyone's object of desire. It's like a baluster, just bought to work, nothing more. Fortunately, VinFast also makes interesting looking bigger and probably much more expensive models. The VF9 isn't stupid at all. I don't know about the interior, but I wouldn't turn down something like that. Now imagine that you parked your new car, no matter what kind it is, under a tree that doesn't look like a coconut tree, but it has fruits hanging there that, if they fall, will definitely make a hole in the roof. We toured the park, then went somewhere closer to the city center. It's almost sunset and we're in the park under a skyscraper called Landmark 81. This one here is the tallest skyscraper in all of Vietnam and one of the tallest in Southeast Asia. The skyscraper is 461.2 meters tall, and yes, you guessed it, it has 81 floors.
Right next to this beautiful park, there are these residential skyscrapers.
They have about 40 floors, but that seems like nothing compared to the skyscraper we're about to enter called Landmark 81.
For a while, it was even the tallest building in Southeast Asia, but it was surpassed by other skyscrapers in the region.
The tower's architecture draws inspiration from traditional bamboo bundles, symbolizing the Vietnamese nation's strength, unity, and dynamism. Inside, there are many amenities, such as luxury residential apartments, offices, shops, and restaurants. A top attraction is the observation deck on the upper floors, and we're about to go up there.
The tickets aren't cheap, because it's about 15 euros per hour, but the view should be breathtaking.
The tunnel to the elevators was visually luxurious. The elevator rose at 2 floors per second. It's also a technological feat that one elevator took us from the ground floor all the way up to the 79th floor. After all, that's 370 meters. From this impressive height, a vast panorama of Ho Chi Minh City stretches out before us, where countless buildings form a dense carpet, cut through by winding arteries of roads that look like moving ribbons. Our eyes are drawn to the majestically flowing Saigon River. We see barges and smaller boats gliding along its waters, adding dynamism to this vast landscape. From this perspective, it's easy to notice how important the transportation infrastructure is. Amid the concrete jungle, we find unexpected green oases, parks, and squares that offer residents a break. A decently sized park. There aren't too many things here. There's just something over there. Pools, tennis courts. Well, from here you can see everything, right? We see many overpasses and flyovers, highlighting the dynamic development and movement below.
We take in this impressive panorama from the modern city center to the distant districts shrouded in a gentle mist.
The view from Landmark 81 reveals the spectacular landscape of this 10 million strong city. We go up to the floor with shoe covers because you have to stand on the clouds, which probably somehow symbolize the place we're in. However, we're still far from the clouds. We could probably get there with a balloon like that. In that case, we're on the 80th floor, while the 81st is where the observation deck is, but unfortunately, because it rained and it's still drizzling a bit, it's closed. So if you're planning to come, make sure it's on a really dry day. The tickets we bought earlier through the Klook website were valid for that specific day, but the time wasn't specified in any way. We could come in the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon, whenever we wanted. Look, there are tennis courts between the skyscrapers, and somewhere deeper in there, swimming pools between the apartment blocks, so you can hide from the sun. Maybe there isn't any sun today, but... Okay, we managed to get to the 81st floor, but we won't be able to go out onto that little balcony outside. As you can see, there aren't too many people here. It's quite peaceful.
I was afraid this would be a really crowded place with hundreds of thousands of people at once, but besides us, there's basically just one couple there.
It's nice. Oh, there's a balcony. Look. So we're on the 81st floor, and you could say it's kind of a stretch, almost the 82nd. Still, we managed to get up to the 81st floor. It's still a bit humid, but they let us in, so we can enjoy the view from the tallest building in Vietnam. We had to hook ourselves up with harnesses, and we also run a kind of roller inside, let's say, the railing so that no one jumps out. That's why we have this kind of view. So it turns out that even if it was raining, you can wait long enough on the other floors because you pay for the ticket, not for the time. The time is simply unlimited, so if you want to spend, or if you have time to wait an hour or two and you really want to get to this observation deck here, then it's doable. The sunset will be exactly at 6:03 post-meridian. You can see it on the clock, but as you can see, we're looking west and unfortunately the sky is so cloudy that our plan to watch the sunset probably won't work out today. But, well, we've achieved something. We're here even though we originally didn't plan to be, so every cloud has a silver lining. Here, the lighting just turned on and looks a bit purple. It's already getting dark, and as you can see, the fog has rolled in too. We were hoping to look at the city lights at night, but it looks like we won't be able to do that today, so we'll be getting ready to leave soon. Maybe we'll eat here on this high floor, and if not, we'll go down to the bottom of the shopping center since it's in a mall, and we'll end our day there. See you in the next one. Good morning, my dear ones. It's just before 7 in the morning and we're finishing packing our bags because today we're leaving Ho Chi Minh and heading to Mui Ne, which is about 210 kilometers to the east. We're dropping the entry cards in the box and heading out on an adventure from the big city. Mui Ne is a picturesque seaside resort known for its beautiful beaches, tropical nature and unique attractions. It used to be a fishing village, but today it's a popular vacation spot offering luxury hotels and restaurants. Mui Ne is known for great kite surfing and windsurfing thanks to steady winds and calm waters. Will it be that beautiful? No one knows. For now, we took a grab to the bus station, which is far from luxurious. Actually, the restroom here at this bus stop leaves a lot to be desired. All those black things are beds. It looks pretty bad. The minibus arrived and we're boarding, but you can't step on with your shoes. The driver helps me pack my shoes into a bag and we're already going to sit down. We took the slightly more expensive sleeping bus option and as you can see it's quite decent. The seat controls are electric. You can recline the backrest, raise the footrest and cover the windows. In theory, this route should take just under 4 hours. Just outside the city our minibus stopped unexpectedly. I didn't mind a quick bathroom break. It seems more serious, likely a breakdown. People moved their luggage to a larger bus. We have to take off our shoes again, but wow, look at this. Beds? Man, this looks amazing. Our tickets had assigned seats, but the minibus didn't have numbered seats, so we just sat wherever. Now we know what those seat numbers are for. I took my seat, surprised by what was going on here. Of course, we're traveling with a ton of stuff, and we could have put everything in the luggage compartment, but I really don't want to put my camera or laptop in there. But with just a moment of quick organization, we managed to find our way on board. People are still boarding, but looking out the window, I think that's just about everyone.
We're already on the bus, which is called the sleeper bus.
I'll show you what I mean in a moment, but as you can see, I'm basically lying here with a pillow under my head. We're on the highway. It's a really interesting experience. I'll give you a tour of this cool cabin in a moment. I can see the driver from here. My beloved is lying right here on the other side. I have enough space, I would say. I can move up a bit, even with my standard European height. It's okay. My feet are touching the wall. But listen, compared to having to travel those 4 or 5 hours sitting, well, of course, it's better to travel 4 or 5 hours sitting than walking or standing. But this is a completely different experience. Let me show you around. This is about how much distance I have to the wall. Let's say it's perfectly fine. There we see the driver, busy with his own things. Of course, there's another person lying there. There's another bed on top. Here, what's more, we can see the air conditioning. You can ask for it because it's really cold, it really blows hard. I don't want to have a sore throat later, maybe let's just turn it down a little bit. I have to leave sometime, it's bright because it's open. And then I lift myself up. Look, we're definitely in brown tones, we're cruising down the highway, everything's really elegant, and what's more, there's water included here and a little basket for your stuff.
Here's another cup holder.
I'll do it with my foot if I can. Here we have a screen. I haven't messed with it yet, but I turned it on using the liquid crystal display button.
And we also have a little light. Oh, there it is, it's on, and it's so beautiful. We can cover it up and see the light.
Do you see what it looks like? Well, it's something truly wonderful.
We can turn off the light, sleep.
I don't know, let's try. It's softly lit up, like for sleeping. So I guess you can call here, I don't know, get someone's attention, ask for something. Here we have a USB port.
There are actually some holes here.
But also, pay attention to this.
You can unfasten and cover, pull, expand. Here it doesn't go far either, but it's good.
Finally, with Buja's bus.
We are almost completely covered.
Dignam.
It's just, there's still a faint light here.
Will it be visible?
I think so. You know, there really is something wonderful. I love it. I got a pillow, and there's something else inside. There's a little blanket in this kind of pillow. Look, when I move to the side, there's actually a lot of space in this bed. I have two like this, and if you really tried, you could squeeze in.
Anyway, we have it. If I manage to get in like this.
On this side, you have another USB, basically quick charge 3.0 Type-C power delivery. So you can charge your laptop, and maybe I'll even take the laptop out in a moment. There are double headphone jacks, really. I don't know what you think, but I'm impressed. So I guess I'll take out my laptop and get some work done. What beautiful views, by the way. It's my first time on this route. I don't know if I would even sleep. Maybe I'll get some work done. I have a lot of footage to transfer to Name to prepare for editing. Would it be possible to sleep on a bus like this? I think so, definitely. By pulling down the blind, turning off the light, and of course closing the curtain, it's almost completely dark inside, even when it's still daytime outside. The bunk might not be perfectly flat, but I think that would only bother a few people. I tossed and turned a bit, got ready for a possible nap, and I think I could probably sleep like that through the whole night of traveling.
They even have seatbelts here.
Remembering those who usually relax with a book before bed, they installed a lamp above your head that emits warm light, with the option to set one of 3 intensity levels. The air conditioning sounds like a leaf blower, and opening the vents fully only made it louder. Despite that, the leather lounge chair stuck uncomfortably to my body, so I spread out the provided blanket to lie on it. This simple trick greatly improved the journey's comfort. Speeding down the highway, we could admire the lush tropical greenery and the roadside inns where other sleeping buses were parked. Our carrier was Nam Hai Limousine, which is very popular, although they are not the only one.
We also noticed red buses from another company. Unfortunately, we can't compare their quality.
If you had the chance to travel with another carrier, share your experiences in the comments. Traveling in a fully reclining seat in absolute comfort, we both agreed that we feel better here than in the apartment we left today. And it hit us that 2 days before our flight to Malaysia, we're coming back to Ho Chi Minh, and as it turns out, to a different apartment, but in the same building. Maybe this apartment would be better, but even putting aside the standard, we've already gotten to know District 4, where both reservations are pretty well, and I think we'd rather find something different. We cancelled this reservation and searched elsewhere in the city. Once again, Saley came to the rescue. Since Sunday through Wednesday, we've used just under 2 gigabytes of data. Browsing Booking, you notice the connection isn't very fast. No surprise, as we only have H+ here. After all, we're on the move, technically on the highway, but still far from a big city. To put it bluntly, we're in the middle of nowhere, so it's worth running a speed test. Download speeds varied during the trip, averaging about 3 Mbps with a peak over 6.5. Upload was a bit lower. Such a connection really doesn't provide the same responsiveness and smoothness when browsing websites as when we're connected to 4G plus or 5G. The most important thing is that booking photos load slowly but eventually appear. After browsing many offers for a few minutes, we found the one that suits us best. The apartment looks stunning in the photos, and the price works for us. Is it really as nice as it appears in the pictures? Well, we'll find out in due time. The important thing is that we have a replacement and it's even cheaper than the previous one. Now that the last day's accommodation is settled, it's time to take out the laptop and work. How comfortable is it to work like this, half lying down? This 16-inch laptop with a 14-inch second screen replacing the keyboard isn't very comfortable to use in this position. I've already reviewed a similar cheaper one on my channel, link in the description. This form factor really helps with productivity, but it's pretty hard to use it while sitting or lying down. It's possible, but a regular laptop would be more comfortable. This USB-C port located near the head will charge a smartphone at 18W, but my laptop also likes the power delivery standard. And even though there's no regular socket on the bus, those 18W are enough to keep it powered, even when the battery is already very low. After about an hour of traveling, we stopped for a bathroom break and to stretch our legs a bit. I'll be honest with you, the trip goes by incredibly fast in these conditions. It's surprising that some people take regular buses all the way to Spain. That's how people once traveled from Poland. That's torture, but this way you can just sit and relax, see what's going on. Relax, gentlemen, you can lie down, sit, I don't know. I'm really impressed. This kind of traveling suits me, I can see that. Here, the parents took a nap. Well, after all, why not? Of course, every now and then, someone would ride a motorcycle right in front of us. It's better not to ride out in front of a car like that, so our driver honked specifically at the lady on the pink motorcycle, and we had to slow down, which woke up the rest of the crew. Back to my spot. I have my first spot here. You can see what the ones on the higher floors look like over there. Well, I don't know, it takes my breath away.
Getting onto the lower deck isn't very comfortable. Oh, it's so cold now.
We need to close it, guys. God, it's 17 degrees. It's really watery, you see. Right now outside it's 30 degrees wind at 7 kilometers per hour. I wanted to find out who actually makes this vehicle. I've never seen the logo before. When I put it into Artificial Intelligence Copilot, I get the information that it's build your dreams and it's electric. As you can see and hear, that's not true. The manual transmission also means it's not a hybrid. I looked for some information on the carrier's website, but I couldn't find anything. But when I googled Mobi Home, I found a lead. Thai Mobi Home is a Vietnamese company specializing in the production of campers, caravans and mobile homes. Based on their website, they only customize vehicles, not build them from scratch. If you know more about this topic, let me know in the comments. Sleeper buses carry fewer passengers than regular ones, but this one still has 22 seats. If you're still curious about the price, we paid 19.38 for 2 people after buying 2 separate tickets for us and our parents. So it comes out to just over €9 for this sleeper bus. For me, that's fantastic. For €9 at least in Dublin, in Ireland, no one would even transport my bike a few meters.
We've already arrived at the place where we're supposed to stay.
And my first impressions are kind of so-so. I'll show you why in a moment. We should be close to the sea, which we can't see yet, but that's what we're hoping for. That's why we booked it, right? Getting to this hotel, which is called May something, I'll show you in a moment. Well, no, it's okay, it doesn't look terrible in its own way. Let me show you, May Bungalow. That's the name of the place we rented for these 4 days. Right here, just at the entrance to the place we reserved, it's definitely quieter, it's farther from the street, so that's definitely a plus. But I also like the fact that there's a massage place here, there's some pizza right by the entrance, so it's slowly starting to feel a bit better, although sometimes the views are a bit Vietnamese. The reception is over there, right next to something you could call a small canteen. Booking states the place we chose is 150 meters from the beach. It was rated 2 stars, so we had low expectations, but it looks good.
The price for 2 rooms was 5,200,000 dong, which is 189 euros.
The dong bills look really cute. There's a pleasant, gentle breeze accompanying us all the time. Here, if we focus, we see it's 11 kilometers per hour, 28 degrees, so the pool here doesn't require any silly signing and you can just go in.
And that's what these bungalows look like.
We don't know yet which one we'll get because it's still early. It was something before 12.
They said we can only enter around 1 o'clock.
There's a beautiful little house over there. You can swing a bit. Here there are also these little apartments. In the worst case, we might get one of these apartments, although I don't know if I wouldn't prefer one of those cottages that's further away, but we'll see soon. Sorry, there's an interesting decoration, a nice ornament, but here I think someone had the idea to put screws in the other way so that nobody would decide to jump into the pool from this spot. I'll tell you, this place really has a nice vibe, and that's why the weather is truly wonderful. It's quieter.
We moved to a swinging bench, and since we're waiting anyway, it's already noon, we still have to wait an hour, maybe an hour and a half for our room, until someone leaves and it's cleaned. We're browsing what they have here in this little cafe.
You can take a look at the prices, right? Here, a black coffee is 20,000 Vietnamese dong.
They have things like cocoa, coffee shake. I think I'll get a coffee shake, coconut coffee milkshake. Sounds interesting.
Here you also have some avocado sandwiches with fried egg, 45,000. You can compare prices there. I might even write it down. Tuna onion mayo, avocado sandwich, fried eggs.
One more fun fact. Here I took a picture of what the man had at the reception on his desk.
You see, from Mui Ne to Ho Chi Minh, the sleeping bus, the one we took, which is this one at the bottom, costs 300 dong, which comes out to over 12 euros. And in our case, we bought these tickets for about 9.60 or 9.70 euros, something like that. And we bought it through Klook, through a website called Klook. I'll show you what it looks like. Here you can see it's an app called Klook. This is absolutely not an advertisement. I'm just saying that, surprisingly, by booking through this, well, I don't really know this app. My beloved uses it more. Well, this app is mainly for Asia. We see that the prices here, because it's not the first time, I think I didn't mention it before, we book things here cheaper than, for example, in the store or like right now at the reception. So maybe it's not such a bad idea to travel to these countries with this app, because with booking we've ended up paying more a few times.
As it turned out, we didn't have to wait that long at all, and we got our room before 1 o'clock post-meridian.
Our room is right by the pool. It's on the ground floor. We've already brought our luggage in here, so that's it.
How does it look? Well, you can judge for yourselves. I'll tell you, the view is... the smell is actually quite pleasant. Nothing here is particularly off-putting, and it's not especially dirty. The room isn't very big. It's in a rather old style. Here we have some kind of open wardrobe. The bathroom is as it is, and there's an open shower without any curtain, but that's pretty standard. There's a window that's always open, there's a toilet, and that's about it. Oh, there's even a fridge, and it's actually a pretty decent size, not too bad. Ah, there's a kettle, so I like that. At least there's a little kettle. You often don't get that, as if you weren't in Morocco. And right here we have our own little table, there's a small pool. And what? And it's elegant. There's also a little touch that I just noticed now.
You see, there are tips included here, those so-called cosmetic sticks.
We have little combs, fresh, unused, and packaged. Sauce. Toothbrushes. With a small amount of toothpaste, of course, but let's say if you forgot, there's also a shower cap. And something that looks like a bar of soap, I think. So very elegant. As for their currency, the Vietnamese dong, as you can see, they all have the likeness of the same person who was on the post office, at that post office. Here we have the equivalent of 2,000, 5,000, the same face on 100,000, 200,000, and the same person on 50,000. For that, you can already buy a coffee and a half. With 100,000 you can, well, not eat that pizza.
Yeah, well, you saw the prices, 200,000. Here we have 500,000, which is $500,000, the largest denomination we currently have with us. As you can see here, there's something transparent. It looks like a flower, maybe a lily, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I hope you won't hold it against me. Here, there's also something semi-transparent. That's how it looks. That's how the money looks. I'm not really familiar with it. You can see the other side. What's here? Some little village. Oh, that's beautiful. Many people associate it with Vietnam or Thailand.
That's what their money looks like. Of course, you can pay by card. For example, we paid for this hotel in cash. We preferred it because there's a 3% extra charge for paying by card. Besides, you also pay a fee for withdrawing from an automated teller machine, so, well, that's life.
We just left the hotel to get to the beach, to see it, but we stopped here.
There's some kind of school here, and over there is a laundry. You can see what the prices are. Kitesurfing, you can rent a stand-up paddleboard. For those who don't swim, you can take lessons here.
I don't know what the waves are like.
We'll see later what the situation with the waves is like, but the prices are much more attractive than in typical Spain, which probably doesn't surprise you.
Okay, we've walked a bit and, well, how do you like this view?
It's literally a 2-3 minute walk from our little chair. It's 29 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from the southeast at 23 km/h, and you can really feel it. It's blowing a bit, and I can already see those palm trees bent toward the sea from the wind. And finally, we're at the beach for the first time after these few days of staying here, 4 days of staying in Vietnam. It's actually the first time there's a real beach with the sea, because of course we were at the Mekong Delta, but you saw the water there. I wouldn't even bathe a dog there. No way. No one's there, right?
Yes, today is April 1st. Yesterday was April 1st. Yesterday was April Fool's Day. Today is April 2nd.
And there is some kind of access to the sea. Let's go closer. We actually made it here. Take a look at what's over there. Who would want to try something like that? Maybe we should get closer. We'll see it better.
Since we're still walking, I'll tell you that this is a kind of beach. I was expecting something bigger, something better, something sandy.
But here it's more like a concrete slab.
And it smells like fish here. Well, seafood, as it's nicely called.
Well, here it's not as nice anymore as it was back there on that designated little beach.
We got a little closer.
Unfortunately, I don't have a better lens, a longer lens. Look, at times this guy or maybe this lady was really floating, being carried. Now, not so much. And here the gentleman is repairing his boat. There's a little dog lying next to him.
Will he fly any higher? Maybe we'll wait.
Here you can see many of these fishing boats being set up. Oh, these are fishing boats. Let me show you.
You see, it's moving. Not very fast, but it's moving. You see, we're entering something that really looks much better than before. Well, you could say this is a beach.
Altogether, it's maybe about a 5-minute walk from our place.
It's a bar. Many of you probably know how it looks in Poland. People are packed one on top of another, arguing, coming at 4 in the morning just to get a spot.
Here, what time is it? Well, 2 post meridium.
It's 2 post meridium, and that's not happening here. Over there, one gentleman or lady is still having fun. It's all good, just a little update. Well, the beach we've just entered isn't really a tourist beach either, because it's still just a fishing beach.
And we can still see the real beach.
It's still further on, just to emphasize, further on. I think taking a walk will be worth it. Here's a restaurant called Pineapple. We're riding on the banana boat, which also includes jet skis, and here you can see what the prices are for these kinds of attractions, at least in this place. Over there is that nice beach we wanted to go to, but Well, we'd have to take off our shoes to get there, and I don't really want to jump over wet, slanted rocks with the camera, so I think we'll take the easier way and walk around.
Here, at least from this view, I get a typical vibe from Poland. I don't know if you know Mekong. Of course, there aren't any coconut palms there, but somehow the little canteen or restaurant looks kind of similar.
There are some trees, it's definitely quieter. We've already entered the main street.
As you can see behind me, there are plenty of different restaurants.
Not much is happening here, but it's nice. If you want to eat something, there's a ton of options here.
Over there, someone is chopping something. Over there, someone is banging on something. There's always something going on.
Alright, we're still looking for that nice way to get to the beach.
Another dog.
Our guide told us that there are a lot of Russian tourists in this area, which, as you'll see, there's a pharmacy over there, you can definitely tell.
From what he told us, most of those tourists left when the war with Ukraine started.
That's why it's much calmer here now. That works to our advantage.
Here you can see that a foot massage costs 180,000, while where we were before, if I'm not mistaken, it costs 280,000. So it's definitely cheaper. It's even on the main street in this little town. We decided to have some breakfast, so we sat down.
You can actually see that there are also names in Russian here, at least the services are described, so you can get an idea of the prices.
Just a quick note. As you can see here, seafood is 55,000. It seems like a lot, but in reality, it comes out to about 3 euros on average. So for a seafood meal, let's be honest, that's about 13 zlotys if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
And that comes out to 2.87 euros.
I like the fact that we don't have to pay for tea. And here, because I didn't mention it to you earlier, the lady brought something like this. Here you have chopsticks, but there are also forks. There are also spoons in various colors. Here are the napkins.
So it's a pretty simple thing, you could say. If we look at the reviews, 102 people have given it a review.
The average rating is 4.9, and people write that if someone wants to eat seafood, well, this would be the best place.
And the place itself is across from a car repair shop in Dudney, Wales, and there are 2 minions there.
As you can see, it's a full dish, basically a full bowl of seafood.
Here you have something to snack on because there are bamboo shoots, if I remember correctly. Sorry, bean sprouts.
Here there's also a bit of chili and lime, if I see it correctly. I'm still waiting for my dish, but let's see how Saley is doing here.
Again, we only have H+, but the signal is full.
They're coming. We have 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 megabits. So 11 was the maximum, 7.32 was the average. Now the upload should start testing. Upload 45561, then it dropped to an average of 1.7, well, almost 0.8, but it's usable. This is what my beef looks like. It looks really good. I already tried a little bit, and it tastes exceptionally delicious too. I think we'll come back here. With my beef, I also chose seasoned spinach with garlic.
By the way, sorry for this broken narration.
As you know, this is the first travel content I'm uploading to the channel, so I still need to polish my technique. However, the content was cut off because of course we were heading to that beach, but there was actually no way to get there.
And we had to go back. It smelled nice to us. For breakfast, we had a tiny little triangle of a sandwich, and by then it was already past 2 post-meridium, so we were really hungry. And as for the price, in total we paid, let me move my hand, in total for this food we paid 190,000 dong, which is about 8 euros and 15 cents, but that's also because we ordered mango pancakes, 1 portion of mango pancakes, which of course we shared, and carrot juice, which is a carrot drink.
Yes, machoka means carrot. No, we are absolutely full. For 8 euros we wouldn't really be able to eat anything in Dublin. For that kind of money in Poland, well, you can tell me what you can get in Poland. Is it possible for 2 people to eat well with dessert and drinks for that amount? We're getting closer to the beach. You can see part of it in the background.
No.
So we're going to jump. I see that the tide is already lower, so I don't think there's much of a problem crossing. Alright, nothing major. It was worth waiting that hour, maybe an hour and a half. From this side, the beach definitely looks more interesting. Here I see Mr. Pan washing his underwear in the sea. Why not? I'm taking my sandals and we're going to PSA check. And only from this side do we reach such a nice resort.
I think we can use this sand because, well, I don't know, nothing says it's only for them.
But you can see that someone invested in it and brought in this sand, cleaned it up. You can see that this sand is cleaned, filtered or raked from time to time. You could easily lie down here, plus look over there, it looks beautiful too. As you can probably guess, we like it here even more. Maybe I don't want to say that we regret what we rented, because it's also nice there and it was cheaper. But if you are wondering about coming here, it's even nicer here, mainly because there's direct access to the beach and the sand is really beautiful. I'll show you these huts up close in a moment. And I'll show you the name, I can already see it. The beach stretches and stretches that way, and right here are the little Mojna cottages. If anything, check the prices online to see how it looks, because just imagine having a little house like this, right by the beach. This one, that one, I see they're cleaning over there. You can just lay down and literally just a few steps away, those are your sunbeds and you can start relaxing on the beach, sunbathing, whatever you like. There's no one here yet, maybe it's too early. What time is it? Let's see.
It's after 3 post meridian, it's 29 degrees and the wind is 23 kilometers per hour.
It's great, the sun just came out now. Well, you can't complain. We're just walking further. However, at this moment, I see that there are some other houses. They're definitely bigger, they seem much more expensive, but would I rather live in something like that for, I don't know, a week or two of vacation, or would I prefer those little villages like over there?
Well, I think I'd prefer a little village like that rather than those typical houses. I mean, you can live in a house like that, of course.
I won't call it ugly, but vacation is vacation, and I like the others better. So the water is warm, it's not super clean, I can see sand getting in. Unfortunately, this isn't Sicily, this isn't Spain, so the water isn't absolutely crystal clear.
Actually, hardly anyone is swimming, but honestly, I would go in. We've reached the end of the beach, and it wasn't that long.
And you see what you see, so it's not very nice, it's a total mess, it really looks bad.
My beloved says she'd prefer to pay more on vacation in Sempona, for example. In Sempona, which is in Malaysia, because it would be a bit more expensive there than here, but there you really have a proper beach.
It's really a top-notch resort for tourists. It's beautiful, it's wonderful. Here it's cheap, yes, it's nice, it's interesting, it's warm. We still have 29 degrees in the morning. Tomorrow at 5 it's supposed to be the coolest, about 5 degrees Celsius. Later during the day, again 32 now, you can probably feel it too. I'd need a second hand to click. But it's warm, although I have to admit it's not unbearably hot, you can still walk around. Now the sun is shining at me from that side, and of course I'm sweating, but not that much. It's not unbearable, it's okay, especially since we're soaking our feet in cool water. We're heading back to the hotel. We'll decide what to do later or see each other tomorrow. We woke up late. The sun is already shining. These lazy mornings are pleasant when you don't have to do anything, but you can do everything. We get up slowly, but as soon as you step outside, whew, you can feel that blazing heat. It's a pleasant feeling to step onto those warm tiles, almost hot. But I think I'll go back for a moment to the much cooler air-conditioned room. I slept absolutely wonderfully in a place like this. You can see for yourselves. Sleep duration was 8 hours and 3 minutes, 92 points body battery charged to 100, which is like the body's battery, showing how well rested we are. It was really quiet and pleasant.
Just yesterday I was telling you about an app called Clock, where you can find cheaper rides.
However, as it turns out, not necessarily, because here, a bit away from our hotel, we found a place where, as it turns out, the deal was definitely better. Let me explain what I mean. Last night we were looking through what's on offer here and we got interested in the option of a jeep ride to the dunes. As you can see, it's 21.75 euros per person.
That's not much. We don't think it's expensive, especially with a few places to visit.
We have Lotus Lake here, we have the red dunes, which are those red sand dunes.
There are no white dunes, there's a little stream and there's a village. However, if you want to take a jeep out to those dunes, it's already 40 euros per person.
So it starts to get a bit pricey, but in this place, as it turns out, the price for all 4 people is 700,000 dong, which translates to 25 euros. So it comes out to 25 euros per person. Not 21.75 as you can see here, but 6.25 euros. That's roughly at today's dong to euro exchange rate, so you get a much better price.
However, we also asked about the option of whether the driver could take us onto the dunes. Of course, it's about the same amount again, so around 12.50, that's roughly what it would be.
Even if you pay for 4 people with your whole family, it's 40 euros each, but you'll pay only 12.50.
That's an absolute total difference. So I guess it won't surprise anyone that it's worth taking a walk and doing what's called shopping around, meaning looking around, talking to people, checking the prices, and seeing if someone can offer the same trip for a bit better price.
Like I said, it's over 40 euros per person, so for your whole family, that's more than 160 euros. That's a lot of money, let's be honest, especially for just a few hours of entertainment to go see the sunset on those dunes. But paying 12.50 per person, that's almost a quarter of the price for the same service. So look, booking. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
When we were at that hotel, which also offers tours, we saw an option for a trip to Taku mountain.
It's about 50 kilometers from here, so taking a grab there wouldn't be too expensive either.
But you know, it's not that budget friendly anymore, you could say.
But here you can see that for the whole group we would have to pay just under 67 euros.
But here, right where we are now, they told us that the cost would be 1.6 million dong, which translates to 48 euros.
So you see, it's not a quarter of the price anymore, it's not half the price, but it's definitely still more cost effective. Here you can see 66 euros for a private group of 4 to 6 people. They also told us here, I asked 5 times, whether it's per person or for the whole group. Here, a private group would also be cheaper for 1 to 3 people, so if you ever come here somehow, it turns out to be cheaper. If anyone finds it cheaper, let me know. Since the tours are already sorted out, today at 1:30 post-meridium, we're going on those jeeps until around 6 post-meridium, because we want to catch the sunset there.
But just so you know, it's 11:30 now and we're going to have breakfast. It would be more expensive at our hotel, so we're going to the same place where yesterday we paid a really good price for some really great food. And in the evening we ate again, which I didn't record, but we ate at an Indian restaurant.
Actually no, it was a food court and there it cost about 95,000 dong per plate.
Definitely more expensive. Here we pay 45,000 dong, that was 3 euros if I remember correctly, something like that. So you can have this kind of breakfast out in the city. We decided to eat cheaply today, so 40,000 dong, and it's not anything really lacking. After all, it's rice with chicken and eggs.
But I was thinking about taking an even cheaper option. But that's just egg and fried rice.
Maybe another time, because with chicken this option sounds more interesting, and it still costs only...
I'll write to you how much it costs.
This is what a very budget-friendly breakfast looks like, which is 40,000 dong, which as we saw translates to about 10 or 11, maybe 11.50 zloty. We've got some chicken, quite a lot of it, and there's also a decent amount of rice. And what I didn't expect is some kind of soup, something like a broth.
We finished eating, the breakfast was delicious, and since it's already past noon and at 1:30 post-meridium we have a trip in those jeeps, we're going to our room for a bit to cool off under the air conditioning.
I'll do a bit of work, spend this hour transferring footage from the camera, and then we'll get ready for the Jeep ride. We're heading out for an exciting Jeep ride on the roads of Mui. You can feel the wind in your hair here and discover the unique landscape of this part of Vietnam.
Our destination is the legendary magical place called Ferry Stream.
Now we're switching to a more natural means of transportation, our own feet. We relax in the warm, shallow waters of this slow stream. The first steps reveal this place's uniqueness. During our walk, we pass local stalls and also encounter farm animals that fit into this seemingly idyllic landscape. Although this area is often described as fairy tale-like, I have some advice for visitors. While part of the route is stunningly beautiful, the remaining 75% may turn out to be less pleasant. We're at this ferry stream, which can be translated as a little stream of fairies, but it seems that the fairies moved out some time ago. However, the first impression is that it's nothing special because we are walking against the current of this water. The water is nice and warm, but in some places there are sharp elements. I stepped on some kind of stick while operating the camera. I stepped on a stick which caused about 3 or 4 pretty big splinters to get stuck in me. Pain, a bit of blood.
Nothing terrible, obviously. You probably won't catch any infection. The same thing could easily happen to us on any beach. But the deeper you go into the forest, the more trees there are, which means it definitely gets prettier. As you can see, what's behind me is really impressive. You can come here, especially since entry is completely free.
There are shops and various places where you can buy food and something to drink, if that's something you're worried about. You can buy hats like anywhere else. You could probably even buy a goat, since we've seen goats here.
Is it worth it? Well, if it's free, then free is a good price, right?
So we're on these jeeps, right? But we could just walk here because it's really close.
But that's why we won't go all the way to the end.
Sorry, I'm not looking at the lens. I don't want my feet to bleed again. Speaking of which.
Of course, we had to take off our shoes.
We left them by the jeep, however, there are also some pretty sharp stones, and you have to watch out for that. Walking can be very pleasant in some places, especially when the sand is soft and nice. It feels like walking on a sponge.
But at other times it can get really rough, and you have to be careful. Those rocks can also be slippery, so just watch out.
You may encounter crabs of various sizes in the water. It's probably not worth buying those special water shoes or socks with soles here on the spot, but if you brought some with you, you should definitely take them for this attraction. Despite these, let's be honest, valid points from my side, I still believe that if you're in Vietnam, you should add Ferry Stream to your list of places to visit.
The material from which the characteristic red rock formations of Ferry Stream are made comes largely from eroded red dunes, which are typical for the Mui Ni region.
Some layers of sediment are more resistant to erosion than others.
This creates uneven surfaces, rock shelves, and protrusions that enhance Ferry Stream's charm.
Soft, loose layers wash away easily, exposing more cohesive fragments. Wind carries fine sand and clay particles that gradually settle and form soft sedimentary rocks.
Their numbers keep dropping, and they may eventually disappear completely. Only dust remains of the formations, so if you have the chance, it's worth seeing this place with your own eyes. I'm jumping back into our historic vehicle, which is taking us to another fascinating place. We've now arrived at the fishing village.
The fishing village near Mujna is a charming fishing community whose daily life is closely tied to the sea.
Colorful round basket boats, characteristic of Vietnam, are gathered in large numbers on the sandy shore, bearing witness to the intense fishing activity.
Hundreds of traditional fishing boats are rocking on the calm waters of the bay.
As you can see, this is a beautiful place, and it's definitely a nice way to make money from tourists, but I think that part of those earnings could be used to at least occasionally tidy up the area. You can see there's a lot of trash here, and it probably hasn't been collected in a long time. It's not overwhelming, but it does stand out a bit. Of course, it's fine to make a profit, but in my opinion, some of that profit should go toward keeping a place like this in decent condition.
Down there you can see even more trash. There's a lot of that junk hanging around.
Well, yeah, it kind of has its own vibe, doesn't it?
But in my opinion, it could look better. These are the famous boats. As you can see, there are really hundreds of them here. There's really a lot of trash here, but look, you can actually find some really nice shells here. Some of them are very interesting. Things like this too, there's a lot of it. Looks like someone stepped on this, but I think we'll take it home anyway. It doesn't look particularly damaged and it's really nice. We can keep something like this. The planned stop here is only 10 minutes, so we're wrapping up now. We discussed trash and some nice shells. It's beautiful, but as you can see, I'll leave a few shots here so you can get an idea that it could definitely be nicer if all this mess wasn't here. But well, not everyone seems to appreciate it. Next on our journey are the mesmerizing red dunes. An extraordinary attraction that impresses with the intense, rusty color of the sand. Overall, I'll tell you that it's okay. You can drop by, but what to do here for an hour I really don't know. I have no idea what to do here for an hour.
It's blowing like crazy. I hope the wind doesn't get recorded as loudly as my voice.
I guess we're heading back. It's barely been 15 minutes. How long have we been here? We're going up one last hill. Let's see what the view looks like from there. If it's interesting, we might wander more. If it doesn't make a special impression on us, then we'll just pack up and head to the jeep.
Look over there, the last hill.
The most magical time to visit is at sunrise or sunset, when the sand shimmers with a rich palette of shades, painting breathtaking contrasts. It is said that at these times the dune looks especially picturesque. We've just climbed one of the highest dunes here. Well, the view is, it's not bad. Well, you can drop by, you can visit, but like I said, for an hour here, there really isn't much to do. I can see the dune over there is pretty high. There's a slope.
Can you see anything, maybe in the background?
There too, a little bit. I'll zoom in for you a bit. There's also a forest in the distance.
That green gives a nice contrast. Apparently various attractions are offered here, like sun sledding, which is sliding down sand slopes on plastic sleds, but we didn't see anything like that here. Even though the dunes are surrounded by lush vegetation and villages, walking on these sandy hills makes you feel like you're in the desert. This place is near the center of Moine, making it easy to reach. At sunset, it's definitely worth coming here for a photo shoot and pretending you're somewhere on a desert far from civilization. We decided that since we're here on these dunes, we'll check how the internet works, and it's incredibly bright here. Test my bitrate. We'll see what speed Saley reaches in these desert conditions. See, I can barely see just under 2 megabits per second. Here's the summary. We have a maximum of 2.30 and 1.5 megabits per second. The average upload is a bit faster, around 6, even up to 8 at most, but the average comes out to about 2.5, and well, that's where we are. However, there's a town or a small city nearby, that's Mujna over there in the distance, but here I don't really see any antennas around. There's something over there, but we don't know if it's a network that's supported for us here. But it works. Even in the desert you can navigate. We left the dunes in our yellow oasis to continue our journey. Right now, we're making a quick stop for a few photos at the Surfers Beach. There aren't many people there at the moment, but my beloved is on the roof of the Jeep. Mujna Surfer Beach is a popular spot known for its favorable windy conditions, perfect for kitesurfing and windsurfing. Its strategic location offers spectacular views. There is a well-developed tourist infrastructure along the coast. The next place we visited is the White Dunes of Mujna. After about 30, maybe 25 minutes of driving, we stopped in this area. So our driver is already letting the air out of the tires to make it easier to drive through the dunes, and we're about to go in. The landscape around is almost surreal. Vast stretches of white sand ripple like a frozen sea. You can feel the traction slipping on the loose sand, but our old vehicle bravely pulls us up the hill. We see quads speeding by on the horizon. Be extra careful going uphill, as someone might suddenly pull out in front of you. The White Dunes are the absolute highlight of our trip and are one of the most picturesque places in southern Vietnam. This desert landscape, set against tropical surroundings, draws nature and photography enthusiasts. The main draw is the stunning sunrises and sunsets that turn the sand gold. So it turns out that the second stop is the White Dunes. As you can see, it's definitely more beautiful here than on the red ones. It's cleaner. There are a lot of ATVs going back and forth. You can rent one for an extra fee. Oh, right behind me. One is about to drive by. Can you see it?
It's still a bit farther, hiding behind a dune.
We probably won't pay extra for that. We were in Morocco recently, so I rode a lot on some really high dunes.
Will it catch something there? I think so. I'll leave you some B-roll so you can see what it looks like.
If you've never ridden on dunes before, I definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun, especially if they're really high and steep, like 40-45 degrees.
There's a bit of fear when going down with an all-terrain vehicle, but once you get over it the first time, it's totally fine.
We can admire people actively enjoying dynamic rides in jeeps and ATVs, and the joy from going down the dunes is actually audible. Compared to the red dunes, these make a much bigger impression on us. You can really spend 2 or 3 hours here and probably won't feel bored, especially if you take advantage of the ride options. The surroundings of the Lotus Lake further enhance the appeal of this place, perfectly combining natural beauty with adventure.
The all-terrain vehicle drivers ride up to the edge, giving tourists an extra dose of excitement.
A beautiful little lake, but look, down there you can see some cows walking, those sandy desert cows. I have to admit, the contrast between the white sandy hills and the greenery of this valley looks beautiful.
This lake is famous for its beauty, and of course for the blooming pink lotuses.
Maybe they're not here at the moment, but it's still charming, so we've stopped by Lotus Lake. It's really wonderful here. Overall, we definitely like these white dunes much more than the red ones, which you saw how they were.
It's beautiful here. I really like this combination.
On one side, look, there's a desert, and on the other side, there's
a freshwater lake. Something green is growing nearby. It's blowing terribly here all the time, but it's a pleasant wind, right?
Well, that's because of the temperature. I think I mentioned it a moment ago. Now it's dropped to 28 degrees, but we're in the sun all the time. We've also had quite a lot of sun today. I'd say the most we've had in the last few days. That's because it was pretty cloudy for the past few days, but today, that's not the case anymore. By the way, if you're curious about how much sun we had today, you can check it in lux hours. We already have 101,000. This is the graph for the last 6 hours. So, we had some breakfast, we walked outside, and at that time there was quite a lot of sun and we aren't using any sun protection. So we probably got quite a tan today. The sand is soft, loose and clean, but when wind blows it this fast, it can sting your feet and calves. I think it gets even stronger as sunset approaches. It's said to be cooler and less crowded here in the morning, but the strong wind keeps us comfortable anyway. At this moment our guide leaves to inflate the tires. We'll find him later after dark. We have about an hour here, I think. We'll see. As you can see, it's before 5 post-meridium and the sunset. Here on the bottom right, there's a little sunset icon. If I move the hands, it's at 5:57 post-meridium. So basically, we still have over a full hour to enjoy the views here. We'll sit for a while, take some personal and family photos, and I think we'll end today with some beautiful shots of the setting sun over these stunning white dunes. We soaked in the stunning landscape, where the desert's raw majesty met the lake's calming beauty, creating an unforgettable memory. Wrapped in the warm rays of the setting sun, we watched as they turned the vast sandy expanse golden. We captured this day in countless photographs, which, like magical artifacts, will bring back these fleeting moments in our minds. By the way, I hope you realize how fragile digital memories are and know how to protect them, so they don't become just a vague memory of lost data.
Remember, one device is not enough. A hard drive or phone can fail sooner or later.
Few people know that an SSD drive that isn't connected from time to time loses its stored data. A traditional mechanical hard drive is much better here. In the future, I plan to create content on safe ways to store digital treasures and may also cover home network attached storage servers. So if for some reason you're not following my content yet, I strongly encourage you to subscribe.
Youth is fleeting, moments pass by irretrievably, but photos and videos have the potential to last.
Of course, as long as we take care of them, and although I personally like to travel, don't forget that my channel is primarily dedicated to technology. So I'll help you take care of this aspect of data security. There's already a video on the channel about how to organize your photos. The link is in the description below. Good morning, my dear ones. Welcome to another day in Vietnam. We got back pretty late yesterday, and after eating we still had sand absolutely everywhere, but right now at 7 o'clock we're heading out for another trip. This time it will end between 2 and 3 post-meridium, so we'll have time to rest. But today we couldn't sleep much because right now it's just after 6 ante-meridium. The sun rose about 50 minutes ago. We need to get ready and we're heading out again. Hey, the driver picked us up from the hotel in a decent Toyota. Nothing super special, but it's comfortable, there's air conditioning, and there are even windows in the doors that block out noise and excess wind.
Seriously, believe me, after yesterday's several-hour journey in the Ulyanovsky Automobilny Zavod, even traveling in a Polonaise would feel delightfully comfortable.
Part of the road was just so-so. The first stop today is Taku.
We're standing under the ski lift and we're just about to go buy tickets.
The ticket not only allows you to visit the beautiful park, but the price also includes the cost of taking the lift to the top of the mountain.
The price for an adult is about 1.80 euros or 7.5 zlotys. Mount Taku is a picturesque place in Binh Thuan province, about 28 kilometers west of the city of Panthin.
It's a popular tourist spot blending natural beauty, spirituality and recreation. While walking through the park, a free ride on an electric shuttle bus is offered. Though it's just after 8, the heat from the sky is already intense. Since it's about 30 degrees in the shade, we probably won't say no to a ride uphill. At most, we'll walk down later.
At the lift, there's a big sign saying TTC World, which as it turns out is a network of popular tourist attractions in Vietnam.
The complex is managed by TTC Hospitality.
You might think it's pure commercialism, but honestly this place is so spotlessly clean, well maintained, perfectly organized and thoughtfully designed that the commercialization of this attraction actually seems justified.
Besides, you just need to compare it with yesterday's fishing village managed by the local community.
The cable car is now just behind us and no extra tickets are needed here.
You can reach the top on foot by hiking a 2,290 meter trail, or just like us, by taking the 1,600 meter cable car. As we ascend the mountain, we reach 400 meters above sea level, but soon descend again. We just got off the lift, and now we're going to see the Buddha, and all those temples that are supposedly so famous. We'll see if they're worth it. We're just walking along and we hear some Vietnamese music playing and we were wondering where it's coming from, right? Because where could it be from? And as it turns out, look, it's right here.
A little speaker powered by a solar light.
I don't know if it's playing from a secure digital card, or maybe it's receiving radio signals somehow, or if there are more paired speakers. We arrive at the temple stairs, where 2 marble Chinese unicorns guard the entrances.
At this point, it's worth noting that in Buddhist culture, it's customary to use the side entrances.
We don't barge straight through the middle because the main gate is considered a sacred space symbolizing the heart of the temple.
The side entrance expresses humility toward Buddha.
Buddhism strongly emphasizes modesty and avoiding arrogance, and the side entrance serves to remind followers of these values.
Exiting through the center is allowed, but it depends on the situation.
Above the left entrance it says kindness, above the right wisdom. You choose which to enter. On the sign it says that before we enter the temple we should perform a purification ritual, at least washing our hands and face, so that's exactly what we'll do.
The information board explains how to do the purification ritual.
It mentions that the pure water from Mount Taku carries natural energy and tranquility. With the help of a bamboo ladle, we gently scoop up pure water and wash our hands and face with it, which is meant to cleanse us of daily worries and prepare the soul for meditation.
Unfortunately, many visitors make the mistake of putting their dirty, often sweaty hands directly into the water basin.
That's why you should remember that it serves only as a buffer reservoir. Out of respect for other visitors who will also want to take part in this ritual, we only scoop the water with a ladle.
Just climbing these stairs in 30-degree heat and high humidity will drive out any arrogance from us.
The closer we get to the top, the more interesting it becomes. The whole scenery looks like it's from the game Wukong, the black myth Wukong. Even those rocks that are there, well, maybe, except for the blue water pipe. Here behind me, those bells are ringing, moved by the wind. Very nice sound. We are by one temple, by another temple.
It really makes a very pleasant sound. I don't know if my microphone will catch it, but I hope it will.
It's getting a bit windier again.
We have to keep quiet here, so we'll be very quiet and barefoot. Even if you come here in shorts or a skirt, you can cover yourself. There are pieces of fabric for that. As my beloved just said, usually there are 2 guards who protect the area, of course. And as you can see, there are also some offerings left for them. It's a normal practice, let's say, to please the gods. It doesn't go to waste. When it's fully ripe, you can definitely eat it and replace it. Give the gods something else. We move on, but the parents say not to step on the wood, so you have to walk over the wood. The temple is beautiful. It looks wonderful with that dark wood everywhere.
Here is something resembling a multi-faced goddess. I might be wrong, but if I find something, I'll put an explanation below.
This looks to me like something similar to Shiva. Here we see more statues and more offerings for them.
This figure looks interesting, like some kind of traveler. He's got a stick and a sort of fake backpack, some kind of bag on his back.
They even left him some really nice cookies. I like them, but they're really fattening because they're buttery, crunchy cookies. Super tasty. Some of you might be surprised to see red, green, blue lights here and think that's a swastika, but no, that's not a swastika. It's actually a special Buddhist symbol called One. How do you call it?
One.
Like English one?
I'll show you in a moment what this one looks like. My mom corrected me saying it's not 1 but 4. There you have it in Chinese, but here the swastika in Buddhism is a symbol of prosperity, harmony and eternity, unlike its misuse in the 20th century. In Buddhism, it represents positive values like prosperity and spiritual enlightenment.
So as you can see there, it's also 4 and it's a positive symbol.
So just to avoid any doubts later on,
what you're hearing really isn't any kind of dubbed soundtrack. It's just those little bells. It really gives this place a nice vibe. Here you can see that in this tower there's a statue on every level. It's a kind of tower that guards the temple from, well, I'm not really sure what it's supposed to guard it from.
After a while, we reach the statue commonly known as the Laughing Buddha.
You can see that his big toe is quite dirty, and that's because there's a saying, or rather a custom, that if you touch his toe, you'll become rich, or it will bring you financial prosperity.
It depicts the monk Hote from the 10th century, known for his joyful disposition, generosity, and love for children. Thanks to these qualities, he became a symbol of happiness, abundance, and prosperity.
As we're going down, I'll mention again that we passed by that sitting Buddha who brings wealth, and Mom said that every time, if of course we touch him and something good happens to us, or we gain wealth, we must return to exactly the same place and thank God for granting our wish.
And regarding this god of wealth, that's really how it is.
I was just talking with my beloved now, and she told me that some time ago she was at the temple praying to have excellent results at school and university, and it definitely worked out.
She finished business school quite well, so she had to go back, and we returned to Malaysia, and she had to go to the temple to thank the gods for fulfilling her wishes. Here, as you can see, it's much cleaner. There are trash bins literally every few meters, and there are signs everywhere telling people not to litter. And as you can see, the only thing lying around are some leaves, but even those have to be raked, swept, and cleaned from time to time.
So it's really beautiful here. I highly recommend something like this.
Here's another trash bin, so everything is kept in elegant cleanliness. Well, after all, it's a holy place, so it should be like this, not like yesterday's beach or that whole fishing village. We are at the top of Taku mountain, and behind me is the longest reclining Buddha statue in Vietnam.
It is 49 meters long.
Here, we will also check the stability that Saili offers and what speeds we can achieve in such an area. We're starting the test now. We can see that we're connected to H+ and the signal is full. But my parents, since they're on roaming and don't have phones with eSIM, have a huge problem here just to stay connected. Their internet keeps dropping all the time. As you can see, our test is still ongoing. It's not finished yet. We'll see in a moment. You can see we're at the top of the mountain, where the reclining Buddha is located. I don't know if the test is finished yet. Yes, we have a maximum of almost 0.6 megabits per second.
It's not bad. The average is 0.34, right?
Sending, well, for a moment it went a bit faster, but H+ usually does worse. But as you can see, there's a timeout. Ah, okay, alright, it's working now. However, the parents' phones don't work at all at this altitude. It's not very high, at least in this area. There aren't many base stations here, but as you can see, Saili still manages to get something done.
You can turn on the map, you can send a message, maybe not videos on Messenger, but some photos will go through eventually, or you can receive or write something.
Regarding what I just said, I wanted to make one more quick correction, a small clarification, because I missed the fact that when my parents arrived about an hour before us, they managed to get a Vietnamese SIM card, which I didn't know about. I thought they were using roaming, and on their original SIM cards from their local operators, they also had quite a lot of problems with the internet. They couldn't even read messages on WhatsApp, while for us, using Saili, it worked. We could write, we could receive messages. So you see, Saili seems to work just fine, but the coverage here with antennas in Vietnam is rather so-so.
So if there are any problems with Saili, it turns out
it's simply because the local operator can't handle it or doesn't reach, which is a well-known issue in Poland. It was similar 30 years ago, so I guess we have to forgive them for that. This is another branch, another path off those stairs we were on earlier. Well, it's worth going in and taking a look. Here we see another gate. This time I know not to push through the middle. It really would have been a shame if we missed this place too, because it's also very charming here. We're about to go up. There's actually a statue here depicting the god who saved these people. I don't know if it was all people or just the people from this mountain who were saved from some disease. You can already feel the heat. It's 29 degrees but feels like 32. We're sometimes in the sun or shade, but we try to stay in the shade as much as possible. A moment ago, some monks were sitting at this table just chilling, living a calm and pleasant life, without any freezing temperatures or problems. Well, I don't know about that, but it's a nice place to spend part of your life, or even your whole life, if that's what you're into.
we're climbing higher. Honestly, I have to say you can get a bit tired.
Yeah, walking in the sun close to 30 degrees Celsius.
Lovely scent. The incense is noticeable.
I need to catch my breath. Give me a moment. The shoes are off and we're entering another temple. You can hear birds everywhere.
You can see the incense, which you could smell strongly even outside.
Here's another statue of Buddha.
There's another one in the distance.
We're about to go down to that little town to walk around a bit, and as you can see, there's a restaurant here.
There used to be small shops there. And I had a thought that I wanted to share because, as you know, some of us have our jobs, we either like them or not, but in Europe, or really in most professions, it's just non-stop work. There's barely a break, maybe 15 minutes for a sandwich, and it depends where you work, whether it's on the assembly line or if it's always busy.
And if you work in a corporation, it depends on the corporation. I worked in my own corporation, so I know how it is. It's non-stop work. Every second counts. Even in the bathroom, you take your laptop to keep pushing and delivering. And here you see there's no one around and people still somehow live. There's none of that rush.
Our driver from yesterday also took us to those first dunes. He said an hour and then went to take a nap.
Later, he drove us 20 minutes to the next dunes, again said an hour, went to take a nap, and then we were at those white dunes. That was an hour and a half. So he said he took a nap, ate. You know, I'm not saying you can make huge money working like this, but I think the way of life is a bit different, more pleasant.
There's no rat race, because if someone worked in a corporation, in a real corporation, where they measure your entire performance second by second, and if you don't deliver, you stay 2 hours after work to do something extra, just because someone else decided they'd do more, and they're also staying after hours for free. So it's a different work culture.
No, work culture is one thing, but this pointless rat race for complete nonsense is something else.
These thoughts come to me even more after visiting Tenpo, which is a Buddhist temple, where money isn't really the most important thing. Well, okay, they do have their own god there, the god of money, but what's most important is to keep your own dignity and joy in life, to be at peace with yourself.
The crew has already arrived. We're taking the cards and heading downstairs.
We took the lift down to this town. Well, town, there's actually something to see here. My parents decided to take a ride because they're already tired. They said they'd walk with us, but apparently they changed their minds. It's warmer down here, 32 degrees Celsius, so you can really feel it.
We need to buy something to drink because we're almost out. I mean, it's basically finished.
Well, honestly, I have to say this place is definitely worth visiting. We don't regret it at all. It's great. As for the price, like I showed you yesterday, it could have been done a bit cheaper. And here's a kitty, right?
In my opinion, it was absolutely worth coming here.
And we're moving on. However, my dear friends, I have the feeling that what I've recorded so far is already quite a lot.
And because of that, I think it's about time to split this whole trip into at least 2 parts. The first part, in which we spent most of our time in Vietnam.
In the second part, we'll still be in Vietnam since we have a few days left here.
However, as you've probably watched up to this point, I also have the impression that there's really a lot of it.
I don't know how long this material will end up being, but I would like to warmly invite you to the next one already.
I hope the second one will be the last part, in which we'll finally go to Malaysia, where you'll see what life is like there, what the house we bought looks like. In fact, it's an apartment. Maybe I'll be able to convince my brother, my beloved's brother, to say a few words about what it's like living in Kuala Lumpur and what the salaries are like. Maybe he'll tell us.
And he's a history teacher and also teaches English.
Yes, so we can talk to him in English.
And you'll see, well, I'd like to show you, because what I experienced myself 3 years ago when we were here last time, I saw that it's being built. I'm on the bridge now, so it's going to sway. Sorry about that.
What I saw back then, well, it kind of exceeded my expectations, because I thought Malaysia was a poorer country, that life was hard.
But from what I saw, my son is 20 years old now. He lives in Ireland, works hard full-time, and also teaches at the Polish School of History. But you earn as much, I mean, okay, you supposedly earn well, but renting a small apartment costs practically 1,000 euros.
Renting a normal apartment costs 2,500 euros in Dublin, and that's absolutely someone's full salary. So the standard of living compared to how much you work and how much you earn is terrible when it comes to Ireland.
That's why we're slowly thinking about moving, about going to Malaysia, because even if someone has a regular job and earns, let's say, 3,000 to 3,500 like in Poland, my dear friends, you can actually live on that amount there.
Normally, fuel costs a fraction of what it does in Poland, and apartments and houses cost a fraction of what they do in Poland. I see something nice behind me here.
As you can see, this is totally unprepared, but I wanted to talk to you from the heart. So you'll see that, I hope, in the second episode, so I warmly invite you and subscribe to the channel. Stay with me.
On my channel, we mainly focus on technical and technological topics. This is my first trip video like this, so sorry if something isn't to your liking.
If there are editing mistakes, it's because I don't have a gimbal. My hand is exhausted holding this 3-kilogram camera.
It doesn't seem like much, but with the cage it really weighs a lot when you're walking around. So yeah, take care, and I hope I'll be able to edit the second episode pretty quickly.
Just so you can see the next part. See you for now.
I had an amazing time in Vietnam.
From the vibrant life of Ho Chi Minh, through the magical sand dunes of Mui Ne, to the spiritual moments in the temples. Each day offers something new, and this is only the start of our adventure.
In the next episode, we'll wrap up our Vietnam visit. Later, I'll take you to Malaysia to show you a new perspective, both as a tourist and a family member.
We'll see our future apartment, my partner's parents' new house, and we'll check out what life is like in this beautiful country.
There will be many interesting real-life facts, cost comparisons for living and food, and tests of Saily internet stability, which let us travel freely without worrying about high roaming charges.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the second part of this journey.
Thanks for exploring Vietnam with us, and see you in Malaysia.